This is my camera bag, and today I'm going to be showing you guys the essentials that I take with me on my music video shoots. So first, let's just talk about this bag. So I only recently got it and it was about $75 Canadian, which is a pretty good deal. Now, this bag is pretty light, has 25 liters of storage space. So down here at this bottom section, there's a very nice padded area here where you can store all your expensive equipment like lenses, camera body, and whatever else you have. So for example, here I've got my lenses and I'll put my camera right here normally. So now another very cool thing about this bag is that on this side here, there's a little entrance pocket to the inside of the main padded compartment. So if I open this in here, I can just take my camera out just like that, and it saves me a lot of time when I'm just quickly doing run and gun shoots. And then right up here, pop, pop, is where I'll normally store my gimbal. There's just a little extra compartment here with a little bit of storage space, which is great for just bringing extra stuff along with you on your shoots. So speaking of my gimbal, let's get into which one I have. So I bought the Zhiyun Weebill S. I've never had any problems with this gimbal on set whatsoever. One of the main reasons I decided to go with this gimbal instead of other very popular choices is because it has something called underslung mode. So basically, when you're recording, you can put it into underslung mode. So basically I can hold it like this and it gives me much more stable shots. I tend to use this a lot for the establishing shot of my music videos. This is because at the start of your music videos, if you have up shots of the artist, it'll make them appear a little bit bigger and tougher than real life, which especially for rap music videos tends to look the best. So just a slow, smooth upshot at the artist is a great way to start the videos, and it's a shot that this gimbal supports really well. Now, the biggest drawback to this gimbal is the companion app. So the only issue is there's slightly less customization. It's a little bit less intuitive than other gimbal apps like the DJI app. But other than that, I've really had no problems using this gimbal. It supports the right amount of weight for my camera. I don't find the app issue to be a huge problem, but it depends on your situation. So this was actually my first camera, and when I was in the market for it, I was looking at something of the price range in and around $1,000. So in this price range, you have a few options like the Sony ZV-E10, the Canon EOS R10, and the Sony A6400, and a few other big names. To me, the camera that stood out the most was the Canon EOS R10. This is because this camera has 4K at 60 frames per second, which is awesome because when you do take slow motion shots in your music videos, you don't have to sacrifice the quality and bring it all the way down to 1080p. Another great thing about Canon cameras is they have great out of the camera colors, so when you're in post-production, color correcting tends to be slightly less tedious than if you're using other big camera brands. Another great thing about Canon cameras is that their navigation system is actually very easy to use. So as I said, this was my first camera and I found it very intuitive to quickly switch around in the menu, and I've had no problems finding different settings in different situations. Now, the biggest drawback to this camera, and the only reason I wouldn't get it, is because it has quite poor low light capabilities. So essentially what that means, for example, you're shooting a music video at nighttime, you might notice that during these darker shots, there might be a little bit more noise in your footage, which isn't normally what you want. For me, I had a music video shoot at nighttime and we were kind of going for like an old school CRT TV kind of vibe. So I actually took advantage of this poor low light quality and created noise, especially for these shots, as a creative decision. So that's just kind of something I've learned. If something isn't really going as planned and there's some problem in your shot, just really emphasize that problem to make it look like it was done intentionally, because that will look 10 times better than if it just kind of looks like it was unintentionally only a little bit there. Now, let's get to my lens. The lens that I just recently bought is the Sigma 18-35 Art lens. Now, this lens is absolutely fantastic for crop sensor cameras, and it can basically do it all. It's right in that sweet spot of 18 to 35 millimeters, which is equivalent to about 29 millimeters to 56 millimeters, which is just the perfect spot that you want, especially for things like music videos. I find this range is great because it lets me get wide shots when I need, and it also lets me get tighter close-up shots when necessary. Another great thing about this lens is if you do more run and gun shoots, it's great because if you put it on your gimbal, the lens is actually actually totally stationary, so it'll never move in or out. It'll just stay the same weight distribution the whole time, so you never have to worry about rebalancing your gimbal when using this lens. You can just adjust the focal length and keep shooting, no problem at all. This lens also creates beautiful cinematic looking bows, which I've really enjoyed taking advantage of. It's also extremely sharp. It is the lens I'm shooting on currently, so you can judge for yourself, but I've really enjoyed using it. If you do get a camera like the Canon EOS R10, you are gonna have to keep in mind that this lens is an EF mount, so that means you will have to get an EF to RF mount adapter, which costs around $50. It's not too expensive, but if you do have these R-mount series Canon cameras, I do recommend getting one just because there's so many more EF mount lenses that are way better priced than the super expensive RF lenses, so it's definitely a worthwhile investment to make. Now, the only drawback to this lens is that its focus mechanisms are quite loud, so if you are doing talking videos like I'm doing now, I would highly recommend not setting your microphone up right next to your camera or ever using the audio taken from the camera, because you are going to hear that creaky sound of the lens. I've got my microphone right here and it definitely won't pick it up from this distance, so just keep in mind, especially for music videos, that's never really a problem because you're always using audio from an external source and there'll be no problems in terms of synchronizing the audio. Let's move on to my light. So investing in lighting equipment, I strongly believe, has had the single greatest impact on my production quality. To me, investing in a good light is extremely worth it. So the Amaran 60D, it's set up right next to me over here. I chose this light specifically because it was in and around my price range, hovering around $200. And the reason I got the 60D instead of the 60X, which is when you can adjust the Kelvin of the light, is because the 60D is considerably brighter, so I'm able to get a lot more brightness out of this light. Now, the reason that I chose this light specifically for my situation in music videos is because you're able to operate the light just using batteries. Now, this is great because when you're outside doing shoots, you often don't have a spot to plug in your light, so having this ability to just set it up wherever you want is fantastic, and I've used it many times and it has been a huge help in enhancing my production quality, so I'd highly recommend getting a light like this. And just remember, you'll also probably need a softbox, so I bought this softbox here, but just as a general rule of thumb, softboxes of course make the quality of light a lot softer on your face. Basically, the bigger the softbox is, the softer the lighting is going to be on your subject. Now, I don't even want to show the tripod that I got. It is absolutely awful. It can barely even hold up my phone when I use it for shooting. It has a little bit of a tilt in it that I can't even adjust, and it just kind of keeps falling apart. So that was a huge lesson for me. Never cheap out on equipment because it could really damage your more expensive equipment, especially if it's something like a tripod and it just breaks and everything falls. You're pretty screwed. It's a much more expensive mistake to make rather than just putting an extra $50 into your tripod, which I will definitely be doing now that I've learned from that. Now, there's a few other things that I like to take along with me as just little accessories. Of course, an extra SD card. It's very smart to take extra batteries with you just in case your camera dies. Just having a roll of tape can come in clutch a lot of times for many different situations. But just remember, it's not about the equipment that you use, it's about you as the artist. So no matter what equipment that you have right now, you have to go out and shoot if you want to really improve your video production quality. For example, my first music video was literally just shot on my iPhone, no added lighting, just my iPhone mini. And you know what? It didn't turn out the best, but it was a start and it got my foot in the door to music video production. And I have no regrets in making those kind of videos because it's how I've gotten to move on to bigger and better things. A general rule of thumb for me is that to upgrade your equipment, you have to be at the point where you've completely mastered the stuff that you have now. I think at that point, it's justifiable to buy yourself more expensive camera equipment. So go right now, take your equipment and just go and shoot whatever you can, get better, improve your skills, and I wish you good luck on your next video. Thanks for watching.